Hi everyone, and welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today we are making some piping hot fresh banana bread and banana walnut bread. I personally love the walnuts in it. The kids not so much. Even my husband. I like the added protein from it. Remember, when you're making banana bread and you're eating banana bread, it's basically cake. So adding that nut supplement to it makes it a little more justifiable to me. My other thing is I substitute all the white sugar, refined sugar, for homemade maple syrup from our farm. The glucose to sucrose, you can learn all about that. It has a lot more benefit to me and the minerals in my homemade maple syrup. And we are in maple syrup season this week. We had some wonderful 50-degree weather. A couple of days of that, freeze and thaw cycles. So this is the time to be doing recipes with some fresh maple syrup. So I've already gathered up some ingredients that I'll go over with you, and I'll put the measurements all in the description down below. We have got some brown bananas. Now, you don't want too brown, bushy, water running out of them bananas, but nice and brown spotted. We heat our home with wood heat, and bananas only last in our house for about 2 or 3 days before they start to turn brown if I buy them somewhat green. So I'm using my KitchenAid mixer to do my mixing for me, and you want about a cup bananas per batch. Now I'm doubling my batches. 2 loaves in this house won't last till evening. That being said, 2 loaves, I like to use the glass loaf pans over the metal Wilton pans that I use for my homemade bread. These quick breads stay nice and moist in the glass pans, so that's the reason for using those. I've got all my dry ingredients mixed together here. This is baking powder, baking soda, lemon peel, salt, and cinnamon. Now, some people do prefer to use a little bit of cloves or nutmeg. I'd like to have a nice mild flavor, so the cloves and nutmeg can make it a little strong. So if the kids are eating it, of course, I leave that out. And I've got 3 farm fresh eggs here. It's 1 egg per batch. My eggs are a little on the small side, so keep that in mind when you are making any baked goods, that most of the recipes in any cookbook or online are calling for an egg of large to extra large capacity. Now, I don't have a scale for weighing out my eggs that they do in USDA grading, and I know that like this one is a little small, so I just put in an extra egg for my double batch. I've got my maple syrup and some oil. Use the oil of your choice. I'm using some olive oil today, canola oil, coconut oil, anything like that that you prefer. And then I've got a half a cup of walnuts for my loaf of bread. So we're going to peel my last banana, get it in there, and get it mashed up. So I'm just going to start my mixer on a low speed. Now remember, if you're using any kind of liquid sweetener, you may need to reduce the amount a bit. When I do honey or maple syrup, I always reduce it a bit because number 1 is sweeter and number 2 is liquid. That being said, you may have to reduce the temperature on your oven or the cooking time. Now I've learned when I do honey, it tends to get brown faster and will reach a burning point because that moisture content is different. I'm going to go ahead and start the oven and getting this warmed up. I've usually already done that at this point, but with filming and things you forget. So that is pretty well incorporated. Now I want to go ahead and add my eggs and get them mixed in. A lot of times you can whisk up your eggs ahead. They tend to want to float around in there a bit, and then you start getting too much liquid, like all at once. Now my cooking oil. And do you notice I'm letting that run continuously? I like to get things very well incorporated. Then you don't end up with like chunks of bananas in the end, or a chunk of something else. There's nothing worse than biting into a cookie or a quick bread and having like a lump of something that wasn't mixed in well. So now I'm adding in my dry ingredients. And you can turn your mixer off if you're more comfortable. I actually have a special lid for my mixer that you're supposed to be able to add ingredients to it. And that never really works out for me. Now that was a cup of flour. Just to kind of thicken up that liquid a bit. And now my other dry ingredients that I previously mentioned. For me, I'm doubling my recipe, so I'm using 3 cups of flour total. Use the flour that you're comfortable with or prefer. There's not really a need to sift your flour in advance, but I have found some flours tend to clump more, so sometimes they do need a quick whisking. And now my 3rd cup of flour. And we're just letting that get all mixed in. I can tell you from experience, a good rubber spatula goes a long way, so get yourself something nice. I have this Farberware spatula. I've got a pair of them that I have used a lot. The kids have been helping with it. And then I've got cheap dollar store ones that flex a lot, and they're okay for gift giving for, you know, coworker sort of things, but for everyday cooking I don't like them as well. I really like these, and I need to pick up a replacement for this. A good solution to this is trim off the edge with your scissors, and then you've got a brand new edge. Now these mixers, adding ingredients as you go, you end up with a little flour and ingredients sitting on top and on the edges of your bowl, and that is where the rubber spatula comes in handy. So I'm going to give this just a quick mix on a higher speed. Now every mixer attachment, paddle mixer that I have, neglects reaching the very bottom of the bowl. So that's where this spatula really comes in handy, because no matter what, it seems like you still have to mix up that very bottom. So I make sure I scrape all the sides and get it nice and mixed before we start pouring it into our pans. Now I've pre-treated my pans with cooking oil to keep that from non-stick coating. You can use spray, you know, whatever you prefer. I just like the oil because it's one ingredient. So I've gone ahead and filled up my first pan and added my walnuts for my second batch. So we're just going to incorporate those in and then fill our second pan and get these in the oven. Now cooking time can vary, so I don't ever really leave it unattended, but generally it's about 25 to 35 minutes in the middle of the oven. And like I said, you know, you've got to watch it because honey and maple syrup can be different than just straight granulated sugar. So in they go, nice and even. We'll do a little bit of baking. And this is best enjoyed with some fresh homemade butter. So I am going to be making some homemade butter while this is baking. And if you're curious about making homemade butter, I'll put a link in this video, one of those little cards that you can click on to go to watch our homemade butter. We do farm fresh butter from our own family milk cow here. Now I can easily make this banana bread with just a fork or a spoon or a small hand mixer. Don't worry about if you don't have the KitchenAid mixer. Mine's running right now on making butter, but it allows me free time for doing other things. So while my butter is starting to mix, I mixed up some bean and nacho cheese dip for later on, and I'm making full use of that oven by adding more ingredients. So that's my timer for 25 minutes on the banana bread. As you saw, it's not quite ready yet, so I'm going to add 10 minutes to it. And while that mixer's going on the butter, it's going to give me time to sit down or walk away. I'm going to go check the eggs in the chicken coop. If you haven't seen the farming and other homesteading videos, these are our milk cows. This is Daffodil. Good morning. And this is Belle. Belle has been my milk cow since July, and Daffodil has been my milk cow for just 2 weeks. Hi, you want to come and say hello to everybody? Moo, how are you? Yeah, we have multiple farm cats running around. That black one is Hammy or Hamlet, and this little guy is Misty. Hello, because he's gray and his mom was Foggy. There's about 4 more running around here somewhere. And this guy is Shadow. He's the bull. And this is my flock of Isa Brown egg layers. These girls have been busy at work all winter. We're at February right now. There's about 50 of them, and I've been getting at least 30 eggs every day. And if you're interested in how we use up those eggs, watch the videos on saving or water glassing eggs. It's a great way to keep a supply when your supply goes down. Aren't they pretty? So that's a pretty good supply of eggs. Some of the hens are still in the nesting boxes working, so we'll make a trip out here this afternoon to gather some more. So the bread has been pulled out. Total, I did do 35 minutes. It's looking really nice. It's not too dry. You can see the moistness here. This is just cracking that happens with these moist quick breads all the time. It's just like their signature look. Don't worry about that. So now to keep these from staying too moist or anything, I always take them out of their pans and let them cool on a rack to the side. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. So here's my homemade butter, all fresh today, and my homemade banana bread. I've let this cool for about 15 to 20 minutes. The longer you let it cool, the easier it is to cut. It's still a bit warm and it's wanting to come apart on me, but I am going to sit and enjoy this. That's always the reward of a morning well spent doing some baking and other things here on the farm and on the homestead. I hope you enjoy your day and that this video finds you all well. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.